Hey guys, so in this video what we're going to do is we're going to go over how to do a tile replacement for any given tile element inside of a tile map. So what we're looking to do is we just want to take, let's say we have this tree here, and we want to replace it with a house. So we just click once, and what that does is we're going to take and swap out that tile. So let's go through that real quick. What we're going to do is, if you see my other videos, I do this quite often, and it's one of those things that everybody needs to learn how to do, is take the mouse position from your screen, convert it over to a world point. Now, this applies to so many different things that this is one of the fundamentals that you have to learn before you can do quite a few of the other things. Right here we have the get mouse position. Now that's going to get the XY coordinates off the screen itself. It's not going to be the world position, it's just going to be the XY in the screen. And then we have to take that value and add our camera height to that value, because the value coming out of the get mouse position has 0 for the Z. And we have to match our camera. So my camera is at -10, so I have to match that camera, or else it will end up putting it off into an arbitrary space way away from where it should be. And once we do that, we've got our screen to world position, and that's going to take the actual value. So here we have 9,000 something, and then it takes it back to -11. So you can see how that would be a big problem. If I were to click, it's going to be way off the map, and you won't click on what you think you're going to click on. And then once again, we do another raycast, and a lot of my other videos have the raycast in it. So this is a big thing to learn, is learning how to raycast and how to identify the objects inside your game. So each one of these little trees has a tile map attached to it. And in this case, we have a tile map collider, and you can see how they're all highlighted in green. They all have the little colliders around them. So each tree is has an independent collider, and then you can grab that collider. So in the raycast, what we're doing is we're going to grab that mouse position, we're going to take it into the raycast, and then whenever we click, we're going to see, does this click hit one of those colliders, yes or no? So when we click, if it hits a collider and it's not null, because I don't care about the nulls, then I want you to go in here and I want you to set this tile. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace those tiles with a red house. Now you can come in there and get any one of your other sprites that you want, or the tiles that you want, and replace it in there. You could also set this dynamically, so you could have a process that runs through and, over time sets trees to turn into tree stubs, or as you're mining a tree or harvesting a tree, that it turns to a tree stub, and then you can harvest it again to take it down to dirt. So it's one of those things where you can kind of give it the appearance of changing over time. Now on this set tile, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the tile map. So here I have the tile map solid. What I did was I just set a variable inside my scene for my 2 tile maps so that I could use them anywhere. And then what we do is from there is we're going to get the round to int. Now this is one of those things where you're going to have to actually go and add it to your units, because you won't have the vector2, vector3 int in there, or the vector2 int. You won't have that in your units, even though it's there, it just doesn't find it. So you actually have to go and add it to your units in your visual scripting setup. And once we do that, we are all set. Now we can click anywhere here on the tile map and replace these trees with whatever we want. And of course you can elaborate on this to make it far more complex. This is just the most simple, straightforward way to demonstrate how it works. Now, another thing I did, if we take a look here, what I've done here is added this additional process. So here's that underlying process, the one that we just did that does this. Okay. And then I added this additional piece here. Now what this additional piece does is if I come down here and I click and I use my right click because I have a right click set, it's going to create a for loop and then feed that back to the for loop, and we're going to create a grid. Now with that grid, it's going to be centered around wherever I click. So if I click here, then I'm going to do all these at once. So you could use this as a kind of a paint tool or anything you can think of. Now let's explain how this works in one of my handy dandy paint graphics, and we'll go from there. How this works is we have a point, right? Just a point sitting somewhere. And then we're going to take that and we're going to loop it, and we're basically going to say, for this, do this so many times. So in my case, in this example, we're just going to do 4, and then we're going to go over and we're going to create 4 points. Okay. Now this is useful for things like, the Minecraft games do this kind of thing too, where it's an iterative process where you create these grids. So then we get to the second for loop. So we're going to feed this first one to it. Now we've already created our X. And then we feed it the second for loop. Now the second for loop is going to go vertically. So each one of these actually goes up, just like this. Okay. And then from there, you just keep going up for how many ever times you put in the numbers for the grid. So you end up having this really handy Minecraft type grid, and it's very useful for these tile maps. Okay, so that does that for that. Now let's go from here and take a look at this. So from the for loop, we're going to create our X, which is -1 to 2, and we're going to step it by 1. This step is just meaning how many numbers will it use. So it's going to go 1 by 1, 2 is 2 by 2, and 3 is 3 by 3. So this is the count on how many it will skip over to get to the final number. So we're going to take this index, we're going to feed it to X here, we're going to create a vector 2, and then we're going to do the same thing for the for loop, and we're going to do the Y. Okay, so we've got X coming across, dot, 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 and then Y is going to start going up from each one. Okay, and from there, what we're going to do is we're going to add those values to our get position. Now this get position, that allows us to move up. And let's see, let's take him and put him here. So, and what that get position does is we're going to take that, we're going to center it, and then everything around it, because we created that grid, will end up actually being replaced along with it. So that's all there is to this. It's very straightforward. And if you watch my other videos, you'll see this raycast setup happen quite often. Same with the get position on the mouse, and then converting to a world point. And every time I'm trying not to iterate over the same things over and over, but these are kind of the fundamentals of using these, to where you're going to want to make sure you have a good understanding of how these work so you can create things down the road. So that's it for this one. I appreciate your time. Have a great day, guys.